Broadcasting from Miami, Florida.
Check this out.
Let's go.
Welcome to 25-8 The Culture. On who's hot and who's not. Everything hip-hop. Turn it on, turn it up, get it loud. Here we go. You're now vibing with 25-8 The Culture.
Yo, you already know what it is, man. It's your boy DJ Pablo Maccabee from 25-8 The Culture with your host D-Wise from the Big Fellas. What it do?
Yo, what's up with your boy D-Wise in the building? You already know what time it is. We got a great guest here that joined the show today. It's going to be amazing. He's going to give us a lot of gems. I hope you're paying attention, and definitely make sure you have your paper and pencils and pens out ready to write some of these stuff down. For real. Let's go.
Also in the building, the legendary Big Money Boy Lance, man. What it do?
I ain't gonna lie to you. I was having a fucked up day till I heard that intro. It makes it all worth it, man. I'm happy to be here. Happy to see y'all. And most importantly, drinking one hand, smoking the other. Let's go.
And also our special guest, real estate agent Orlando Rivera.
I appreciate it.
What's up? Just quick intro before we get to the questions. Orlando Rivera, you feel what I'm saying? Out of Rochester, New York, you feel what I'm saying? The NAH Rap or Now Rap Award recipient, top 100 Latino agent in the Northeast U.S., and that was in 2020. And in 2018, he got the Now Rap top 250 Latino agent in the U.S. So this man's well accomplished. I reached out to him. He said he's ready to go. He was down. He jumped on. And we're going to ask a bunch of, obviously, real estate questions. So just want to say thanks for coming on. And let's get to it, man. Let's rock and roll.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
All right. I'm going to start off. For those who don't know, I know I just said those awards. Can you tell them what NAREP stands for the people that don't know?
Yep. So it stands for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, which is one of the, if not the largest trade organization in the United States for Hispanics. They're all about, their mission is to grow people's knowledge about home ownership and to also help people get into homes. So the focus is Hispanics, Latinos, and grow home ownership, which has grown year over year. And it's the only group to have grown year over year for the past 5 to 8 years.
That's what's up. And also, it says Latino. So can you just tell us quick, like, what your heritage is? Because I know Latino's a wide field. So what is your heritage? What's your background, man?
So I'm Puerto Rican and also 25% Dominican.
Gotcha.
So we'll claim that.
I know we talk about real estate, but it is funny how you got the 25%, because myself, Jamaican, West Indian, Cuban. So it's like, it's like the whole Caribbean that's all mixed with me. Also, the Hispanic or the Latino or the Spaniard mix that also comes along with being a part of the, Caribbean diaspora and stuff like that. So, sometimes, people, especially when you're Dominican, some people, they confuse. They're like, are you black or are you Hispanic or whatever, But shout out to all my Dominicans out there, que lo que, you already know what it is. Dominican food is the best. If you eat that mango or whatever, we can talk about food forever. But let's get into real estate and we get back to the question. We start talking about food, man. This conversation can never last. But and batata and stuff like that. Oh man, this is whatever. And shout out to Puerto Rico too, man. Puerto Rico's. I've been there a few times. The Kamui caves, and Yunque, the rainforest and stuff like that. Puerto Rico's a cool place. Reggaeton and everything like that. But so we had you on the show because it's very important for the culture to have home ownership. And sometimes you talk to people, like, they want a home or they're gonna, they want to buy a home, but they don't even know what the steps are to buy a home. They don't know too much about credit. They don't know too much about how much percentage they need down. They don't know what programs that are out there that may be available to them and stuff like that. And also too, is like, we're talking about building generational wealth. And, I feel that it comes with, with ownership, at least one property at a time or, right. Stuff like that. So, let the audience know the importance of home ownership, especially for the, the Black community, the Latino community and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the number one way, especially in our communities, to build wealth. And and it's something that's just so simple. And a lot of people think that goal is out of reach. I think we need to promote it more because you'll see like year over year, the growth and what you'll get in having home ownership. It creates stability in families, generational wealth, as you said. You could pass that down to your kids, and your kids could pass it down to their kids, on and on. And a lot of times, our people don't, when our folks pass away, there's nothing there. We have nothing to leave, the kids and the family. Home ownership is a way to be able to do that, and build equity, while owning, because you could use that later on to, let's say, your kids want to go to college. You could pull money out of your house, using a line of equity, and use that to help your child go to school. You could use it if, any emergency situation where you need money. That home is going to be your go-to for any cash needs.
Okay, well, I hate to jump in here because I never do this, but this is a sensitive subject for me.
Okay.
Please talk on the importance of keeping Big Mama's house, because I feel like in our community there's way too much excitement about selling Big Mama's house instead of understanding the value that house has. So can you please explain to the people why we need to stop selling Big Mama house?
So tough subject. My opinion, I believe that, something that holds value should be revered. Something that holds value is something for you to keep as far as memories, and those things can be held and passed down from generation to generation. Selling is a go-to move when you feel like, you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to, you just want to unload it and get that off your plate. But instead of using it as a tool, not only just for memories, but rent the house out. You can, that's a starter point right there. House left to you is a way for you to start, stacking money away, save something up. Next thing you know, you're on to your next investment. And then you can kind of just parlay that from there and use it and move on to build, as some will say, a real estate empire.
I had to get that out there. I feel like every time something goes on, there's a house. The first thing we looking to do is to sell, rather than look at it how you explained it, where you could use that as a rental property to start collecting residual income, to start moving on to other things that create generational wealth and allow you to really pursue dreams. So I appreciate you breaking that down.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to add on to that, like I feel like the hardest thing is to actually get it, like owner of it. Like once you own something, you get something, like percentage wise, it's so easier to go to the second buy, the third buy after you already have that one thing in stable, because that's the first hump. And that's the hardest one usually. Like once you get over the hump, I actually have property. Let's rent it out. Now that we have that and we got income coming, now it's so easy to fold into another one. So we got to think about, how can we come up with this? Or, even if a few of us like, okay, like I'd rather people sit down and like, okay, buy them out. Like, listen, we'll give you the money from this rent. We're going to keep it. We'll give you the first, 6 months so everyone gets some money, but we are going to keep this so that way we can, be happy. Like, I wish that was a discussion instead of saying, hey, everyone sell, everyone get their, profit, get their money and then go. And even then, like, depending on how big the family is, that might be a quick, everyone gets, $5,000, depending on how many people and, grandkids there are, or children it is. Sometimes not everyone's going to get like something nice instead of keep it going and let it prosper and, let it add on to your pockets and your children's pockets and everything. You can keep it going. So that was a great question. One thing I wanted to ask you, because this is really like on the up and I see it happening more and more. I want you to talk about the positive and negatives. And if there's way more negatives, that's cool. just talk about it. A lot of people are getting into this fold of rent to own or rent to buy. I just want you to speak on that because that's really a popular way, especially a lot of people having a messed up credit. It's just the way the things are going right now with student loans being all-time high and taking people so their credit's bad. So they're looking at other ways to get a house. And that's like something that's on the market that a lot of people are talking about, rent to own, do this and that. Talk about the positive and negatives, if there are any on each side, and how you feel about that.
Okay. So first, I think everyone should switch their mindset and go talk to a mortgage professional. Go talk to a loan officer and find out where you stand. Because you never know, they have all these tools available to potential buyers, credit repair, things of that nature, where they can get you to where you need to be to qualify for a house. They'll give you what the minimum credit score is for FHA. They'll get you there. And then it's up to you, once you're there to kind of make the decision whether you want to take the leap into home ownership or not. But getting back to your original question, for me, rent to owns are not the best way to go. It works out for some people. I'm not personally a big fan of rent to owns because it requires you in a lot of cases to put down huge sums of money. And then they want you to build your credit over a period of time. Well, you can build your credit over a period of time and purchase a house and only pay 3.5% down. And then, oh, by the way, you could probably get a grant for being a first-time home buyer. And then you can stack grants. It just depends on who you go talk to, what you're available for. But like, for example, here we have resources in Rochester to use, like the Housing Council, or our county has grants. Banks have grants available to people. A lot of people don't know that for first-time home buyers. So it could end up where you purchase a house and you don't have to bring anything to closing at all because you took care of it all by all these grants. And you can, in most cases, you can stack those grants. So if you purchase in the city, there's a grant available for the city, and it all depends on what your income is. There's requirements for actually living in the house. You have to stay there for a certain amount of years, but it's worth it to be able to help you get into a home. And most people only live in their first home for about 5 years on average, and then they're on to their next investment. And make no mistake about it, purchasing a home is the biggest financial decision you will ever make in your life.
I definitely agree with that. A question for somebody that's already a homeowner that wants to, purchase a secondary home or an investment home. Are there still grants available to them, or there's not that many out there since they, because I know like most of those you said are FHA, which is first time homeowners. Are there other grants for secondary homes as well or no?
So FHA is really a loan type that most first-time buyers fall into that FHA, but there are people that will utilize FHA their second time around as well. But that it for down payment reasons, it just depends on your situation. So it keeps you from having to come out of pocket with a lot of money, but the banks, typically most banks have products they specialize in different things. So if you want to buy an investment property, you want to talk to somebody that has that line of expertise and can potentially give you, the best situation, based on what you're dealing with. They can kind of find a product that works best for you. But with investment, they typically want to see a little bit more out of pocket and more money down in order to do that. But there's ways that they can kind of, figure something out for you, whether you're taking money out of your current home using that as a line to purchase something else. But that'd be essentially cash you could use as money to purchase, something else.
Okay. Okay. I know there's some of the audience, they may already own a home, and maybe they want to, invest in their second home as a rental property. I've always heard like, if you have the opportunity, you should buy at least 2 homes, one to live in and one to rent out.
Right. So one will pay for the other, and
then one will pay for the other. That's why people encourage like, duplexes or something to that effect. So you can end up trying to live at least like rent free, or at least benefiting and paying off your investment. So, we're all about, growing home ownership and also making investments so we can, grow our personal real estate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How important is credit, and, and also like what credit score are banks are looking for?
So credit is super important. You can still buy if your credit isn't fantastic. It makes your situation better. But let's say your credit is 580. There are lenders that can process a loan for you at a 580 credit score. There's going to be some things that, are going to be a little higher, so your rate and things like that. But as long as you're able, cash wise, you meet the rest of the requirements, a 580 credit score will work for certain lenders. Optimally, they'd like to see you at a 620, 640. But 580 is feasible with, certain lenders.
And another question, piggybacking off of that one, do you think it's best for somebody to repair their credit to the best of their ability before they start looking at loans? Or should they just be like, hey, look, I need a home right now. My credit score is at a 580. I'm willing to pay this crazy interest. And, when I look at the interest over a period of time, it's quite ridiculous. Or I think would probably be safer to be like, hey, you know what? Let me take 6 months to a year to repair my credit, to at least get it to maybe, a low 700, and then go ahead and get that loan. Do you recommend that, or you feel like it doesn't really matter?
I think it's finding out if the mortgage loan officer gives you a good prognosis. So let's say they say, okay, if you pay this off, you pay that off, brings your score up to about a 640. So I think you should do that first. They'll say, I think you should do that first, and that'll put you in a better position to buy. And if it's 3-4 months, then it's 3-4 months. Some people, like you said, can't wait, but I think you want to put yourself in the best position that you can. And sometimes it means that you can't do something right away. And it's for a reason. It's for the best. You don't want to, sometimes you might lose a few points here and there, especially with a credit pull. So if they're telling you, at a 580, if you pay some things off or pay some things down, because they look at your debt to income ratio as well. Yeah. And if you pay some things down, then it'll lift your score a little bit. In the long run, it's worth it.
On that, as far as speaking of credit, what would you say in your mind is probably like the best time? Like, what would be the perfect credit score in your mind to be like, you know what, your credit score is here, go ahead and pull that trigger? I know you want it to be as high as possible, but in your mind, what would you say? Like, no, once you have this credit score, go ham, like go take care of business. In your mind, what would that credit score be?
So 640 is probably safe enough to get you, in through the door. But you likely probably want to shore it up to get the best rate. You want to at least have a 700, I think. But you can walk through the door and get qualified at 640, no problem. So they set those bars 620, 640, and most folks will all day long should be able to qualify as long as they meet the other requirements. So as long as they can provide income, proof of income, and so on and so forth, or W-2s, all that.
With that being said, so if someone had a 640 or whatever, and they know, like, once I pay, or forever, like, let's say they had like, we'll say 680, and like, once I pay off this credit card, and that credit card might take 4 months to pay to get to the 700. Should they, go ahead and get that 700, or be like, don't even hesitate. If you're past 640, go get it.
Yeah, so I would at that point, you qualify with a 680 credit score. It's just about what you want to do personally at that point.
Okay.
I'm sure that the professional is going to give you the best advice as far as what you need to do moving forward. Once they, get all your docs and they say, okay, this is what we're looking at, and I think you'll be fine. There's actually mortgage companies that do a full underwrite before. So it's a true pre-approval. So you have a pre-qualification and you have a pre-approval. But there's companies that'll do a full underwrite before they actually do it, so that they know when you get to that point that the loan's going to go through, as opposed to, let's say something happens in between, you might have a chance of not qualifying for the loan, or they may ask for additional documentation. And banks are known to do that. And people get frustrated because what do they need that for? What do they need that for? Well, it's called 2008. So people were just doing everything the wrong way. And now the government said, all right, now we got to cross our T's, dot our I's, and then some, in order for you to be able to walk away with a mortgage on this, at this price point.
And one more question, then I'm going to pass it back to Lance. What do you feel is the number one mistake that people make when they're going after a home?
So I'll use this current market environment as an example. So right now, people are obviously like just wildly bidding, and the prices are like going to astronomical levels. And I'm sure this is happening nationally. It's not just isolated to one particular spot, but people are foregoing their inspections on houses. And they want it that bad that they're willing to appease the seller and say, hey, listen, I don't want an inspection. Take a look at my offer. It just speeds you on your way out. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a buyer. It's not my decision to make because I'm not the buyer, but I always advise my clients that you should do an inspection. It is up to you what you would like to do, but you should do an inspection for these reasons. You're already overpaying for the house. You might end up paying even more money if you get into it and find out that there's a problem that we couldn't see. Yeah, because everybody's eyes are different when they're looking at something. And if I miss something, maybe you catch it. But if we don't really open it up and take a look at it, that. So.
Yeah, you should get an inspection on a house. You never know that problem. They could be termites, they could be mold, they could be, some electrical work you got to do. And now you just spent $300,000 on a home. Plus now you got to do another $30,000 in repairs. So
right.
That's low, $30,000. Some people got to pay damn near half of what they just bought the house for, depending on how bad in shape it is. The foundation's messed up. That's your ass. You know what I'm saying? So,
thanks. Now, when you're looking into buying a house and then you're doing all your research and all that, can you speak on how important it is to do research on the title and like to make sure there's no liens or debts on the property?
Yeah. So as part of the contract, at least in our association, our bar association, the attorneys wrote a pre-approved contract. So we have this contract, and it's kind of like it is fill in the blank, but there's certain paragraphs and clauses in there. And it says that the seller must deliver a clean and marketable title in order for the buyer to be able to purchase that property. So the bank, of course, is not giving the buyer the loan if the seller can't produce it, which is actually a clean out for the buyer, and a way for the buyer to get their money back, their deposit money back, should something go wrong within that on the seller side. But yeah, the attorneys, at least in New York, do all the title work, and they make sure that there's no liens on the property. They double check that. You'd hate to see something like that happen. I have seen where liens have been found on homes, and then you wonder how it was missed the first few times around a home was sold. And it's like, oh, you found that now? So how did this get sold that many times and nobody cleared this up?
Right.
But yeah, to your point, that is a big problem. You want to make sure that that's all set.
Okay, now, what would your advice be to someone trying to make the decision of buying their first home or buying a 2 or 3 family home and renting it out before actually purchasing their own home to live in?
So I'm a big fan of single family investment. It just depends on who you talk to, really. But and I'll tell you why I'm more of a fan of single family investments. It's much easier to manage from a singular. You have a person that comes in and says, okay, I want to purchase this as an investment, and I'm going to rent this home out. With a multi-unit, you have to worry about tenants that could potentially argue over parking. They could argue over, oh, he's stomping up and down, he's doing this, he's doing that, we got all these issues and things are going on. So you want to keep your tenants happy. And then there's also a lot of turnover in multi-unit houses as well. So in a single family, you're looking at more of a stable, you'll get somebody in there likely to stay a little bit longer, rent a little bit longer, your income stays steady, versus that constant turnover. And then also have to deal with all the arguing, fighting, and trying to keep everybody straight, with all those other things. Is just, to me, and then from a repair standpoint too, that it's more manageable.
Okay, now you talked about real estate being the best way and to grow wealth. Mm-hmm. Which would you say is the most lucrative, residential, commercial, industrial, or land? And which would be the easiest to get into?
So for me, residential. But if let's say you're thinking that you want to grow your empire quicker, in that case, then you look at multi-units, which in fact, once you get above that 5 point, you're looking at commercial lending and a commercial world. But definitely you getting into multi-units is the quickest way to do it. But if you're looking at the single family market, you're going to do well in single family residential, as long as you provide an environment where somebody wants to stay, and you treat your tenants right, keep everything fixed. You should be on your way to making money over a nice period of time, or supplementing your income, because some people do the landlord thing as part-time, as a way to supplement income, and then there's people that own 80 properties and that's their life.
Okay, I like this. Okay. So one more about the real estate. Do you think it's better to get into wholesale, or to actually get the rental properties?
I think it's better to just purchase. Rather than getting into signing contracts and all that. I've watched it happen, and a lot of people like doing that, but it's tough to find. It's tough to find those deals out there. So I think it's just better for you to just go that normal route, because that way, somebody's running checks and balances and no one's trying to scam you. And, for a deposit plus the signing fee and all those other things that could happen.
Copy.
Yo, so right now, since we're still dealing with the effects of Corona and stuff like that, and we still haven't seen the complete ripple effect on the real estate market, and houses right now are pretty expensive, and a lot of people are there's a very limited market. Do you think it's a good time to purchase a house? I definitely know it's a seller's market, but do you think it's a good time to purchase, or should people, with whatever budget they have, should kind of like wait to see? Cause I know a lot of people are not selling their houses because they don't know if they're going to have their job next year. They're scared to move to another city, state, town, or whatever. So a lot of people are staying in their houses, even though they probably wanted to sell. And I know this is a nationwide thing. It's not just like how you said, a local issue right now. Do you think somebody looking to purchase something should wait this time out, or just go ahead and just buy high?
I still think that people should be out there looking. Obviously, the millennials really have flooded the market, and they're out there purchasing. I think it's a good time for everybody right now. But like you said, the problem isn't essentially purchasing. You sell, and then you wonder where you're going to go. It's going to be difficult. You don't know what the time frame is going to be when you can find something, because the inventory is so low, which has been a continual problem the past few years. But I encourage people to continue to get out there, continue looking. There's ways to make your offer more enticing to a seller. You just got to figure out for you within your constraints, like what financially works best for you to be able to make the best offer. And that's always a good discussion with your agent to figure out, because your financial situation best. Your agent knows based on your pre-approval, but there's things that you can offer, to help offset and possibly entice a seller to, say, hey, maybe I'll let you rent back for 60 to 90 days if you can't find a house. It takes something that be more seller friendly, in that regard. There's ways to offset and make your offer stand out in this market.
Another question. Do you think we may have another housing crisis? You think the housing, after Corona, because right now, since we're being kind of saved by stimulus and unemployment, we still haven't felt the ripple effects of housing right now. One way that I kind of looked at it, I'm like, even if the houses were to drop dramatically, it's like the investors will jump in and they'll just get in there with cash deals and stuff. So it's like you that have your credit, 7+100, you have your 3.5% in closing costs, ready to go. You have your job that you've been at for, whatever plus years that you need to, be approved. You have your pre-approval letter. You still may not have a good opportunity when all these people come in with their cash deals because they're just waiting for the market to crash. So it's like, you're probably just better off just getting a house anyway, because you're probably going to get beat out. Do you think we might head to a drop in housing, like in the next couple of years, based on the ripples effects of Corona?
I'll give you my prediction on that. I do think that we are headed for trouble with the whole lend, spend thing, because everything's cyclical. So it's eventually going to come around, and this can't last the way that it is continuing to go. Like, the rates are low, and it's investors are looking at it. It's still free money because of how low the rates are. But eventually, and they've already started ticking up, then eventually it's going to become a problem for people. And, the average price of a house isn't the same as it was like 5 years ago. So now you look at that increase, and at some point when it becomes cheaper for you to rent, you're going to start thinking about it. Even though on the other side, that the best investment is one that you could potentially own. Obviously you still have to pay your taxes on your property, but it's still your property. It's, your name's on it. I still think that's the way to go, but yeah, eventually I think we're headed for trouble. But how soon, that's going to happen, we don't know, but could be 2 years, could be 3 years, could be a year.
Yeah. Do you think houses are too expensive? I mean, honestly, being somebody that lives in Miami or New York or California, and a decent house in a decent neighborhood, we're already in the $500,000 bracket. And it's like, if you're not two, professionals making $100,000 a year to keep up with a 30-year mortgage and with a certain lifestyle, it's going to be very difficult. So I'm like, man, sometimes I'll just look at other places like Texas and I'll see a $265,000 home that in my neighborhood would be $600,000. And I'm like, man, I don't want to leave my area to move to, to Texas or to Georgia or to North Carolina. But I kind of feel like, New York, Miami, California, it's ridiculous. It's like, you probably need at least 2 or 3, 3 or 4 people contributing to the household in order to, pay the mortgage and stuff like that. And, in my situation, it's just me and my girl. So it's only 2 people. But, I'll notice, I'll drive by, in the neighborhood, you'd be like, oh, there's 7 cars in front of this house. The grandma lives there, the mom, the uncle, or whatever. They got, 5 people contributing to the mortgage. And, and I'm like, okay, so that's how they figure it out. But it's like, it's just me over here got to pay, $500,000 home mortgage and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like it's only going to go higher. So if we don't get, ownership so I can pay this house off for my child, I'm like, how much more is it going to be 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah. It's scary stuff. I do feel like the price points are out of control right now. So where we're at, the average price point is about, I would say the sweet spot for buyers here is anything under 150,000, because you can't build a house, under that 150 mark. And that cost has gone up. So just due to, again, COVID is the answer to everything. Why is it messed up? COVID. But for whatever reason, the cost of building and supplies has gone up. So now even building a home has gotten out of control. But under that price at that 150, it's super competitive. And those are a lot of first-time buyers. And I feel like I see people that could afford, will drop down into that 80, 90 range and will overbid because they're in the range of the people the tier below them, and they'll overbid. And there's no way those folks have a shot because they top out, at a certain point, while the folks at tier above can bid the price up. And the banks are still appraising these properties because there's multiple offers. So pretty much the public is telling you, this is a price you put on it, but the buyer determines the value of the house. So it's whatever someone's willing to pay is what it is. And it's the appraiser's job to go out there and, rationalize why the bank should give them this money. It's there right now, it's working, but eventually there's got to be a stoppage to this. Yeah. Because I get frustrated. I know buyers are frustrated, and we have to constantly keep the buyers motivated, and we have to talk to them and say, hey, listen, you didn't get this one, but, maybe the next one, maybe if you change this and you change that, and then somebody goes and bids like 50 grand over, and then what do you say?
Yeah.
You're limited to how your buyer can perform financially. So at that point, you have to get creative. So the people that have conventional loans or are paying cash are the people that are essentially winning these wars, because they have the ability to put more money down, because the FHA loan is what it is. It's 3.5% down. With conventional, you could say, I'll put 20% down. I'll put 10, 15, 5, as little as 3. But, FHA is just the built-in cost is 3.5% versus a conventional. You could just take it wherever, financially you could stretch to.
Yeah, I definitely want things to get back into the buyer's market, because the seller's market is doing that right there. Like you said, people are overpaying, and you're 100% right. You're like, why is this COVID? And it's just eating, like, yeah. And like no one questions, there's no more questions anymore. I feel like there was more room for debate or more room for conversation. And then COVID hit, and like that ends everything. Like, oh, hey, COVID. Oh, like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing else to be said. And you just feel stuck. And you know what I mean? It's crazy. And then like how he was saying before, 2 households making up for something, or 2 people bringing something into the household, making up for something is a lot harder. And I respect, and it seems like certain cultures, and it definitely feel like people that are coming from overseas are beating us instead of our Western mentality of, coming up and being young and being of the black, or, or minority community, especially in the States, is like, you're 18, bye, get out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give you till 21. But after that, you know what I mean? You got to kick rocks. Like, you know what I mean? That's what we were installed to us. And in our mind, we didn't think it was a problem. We're like, hey, I got to get mine going. But then I've seen other cultures, especially people coming from outside America, they'll live at home till 25. I contribute, I'm happy. And then they get themselves ready and prepared to go buy something and not know, crumbs type of place either. Something nice, because that whole time, you know what I'm saying, they were building up and building themselves up to get something real nice. And that's something I feel like is important too, to like explain to people, like, we got to stop rushing the process instead of letting it like flourish and flourish and people growing and no problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? We insult, even as men, I feel like if you're at the crib past 21, like, you'll start getting looked at other women like, you don't got your own spot yet? Like, you're not at least renting? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you start getting the looks instead of saying like a smart man would be like, no, I'm getting something real nice. It's the way like you get looked at. So you really got to get in tunnel vision and realize what's best for you and stop trying to compete with the next man, for real.
Yeah.
Okay, I got 2 things. How do you feel about, because there's a growing movement about buying land in other countries like Ghana and things like that. How do you feel about that, buying property in Ghana?
So I think that's definitely a good thing. You have that developer's mentality, and if it was me, I would build like housing for other people. So you provide that housing there, but I make it specialized where it would be for women that had like domestic issues. There's so like in Rochester, there's a place called Wilson Commencement, and it's special housing for men and for women that had issues, whatever it would be, and with their children. I know Work Done has done a lot with that, and I respect the fact that people are helping other people do that. I think that along that lines of buying land, whether you do it in another country or you do it, here in the U.S., rural or city, and you're all about like trying to advance everyone, try and bring everybody to the same level, and trying to make this world better that way. Because we're not gonna get ahead if we don't all pull together to get there. Because if everybody's on the same level, there's no reason for us to kill each other. There's no reason for us to like fight. There's no reason, you know, everybody lives in peace and we all do our own thing. But I guess I'm describing utopia, and that's not. We're not quite there yet.
Okay. Did you hear the story a while back about the black family that rebuilt their house, and when they went to appraise the house, they got an offer that they believed to be well below market based on the work that they did? So they had their white friend come over, and the house is appraised for almost $200,000 or $300,000 more. Wow. What would be some advice you have for people who would face that kind of situation?
Real quick, I think that story was I think they had photos of themselves in the house, and then they switched it to photos of white people in the house, and then it got a higher appraisal.
Interesting. So yeah. It's tough. So one of the things I tell sellers is you want to depersonalize your house, and it's not from a standpoint of, you know, looking at any culture or anything like that. It's just, it allows people to be able to imagine themselves in the house, because some people have blocks with that stuff. So they walk into a house and they're looking at it and they're like, you know, I can imagine myself here. I think this is the house for me. But when you leave your things and you have clutter and that sort of thing, it doesn't help people look at the house the way they want to. And it's weird, but it's just kind of it's a thing. But in that couple's case, you know, I don't know like the exact circumstances surrounding like how they sold the home, or, you know, if they did it themselves, or if they had an agent trying to help them, or how that goes. But we typically go over, you know, all the issues about fair housing and, you know, discrimination and all that sort of things with buyers and sellers, so that you eliminate any potential for any of that stuff to happen. With an appraisal, that seems like a weird situation. You know, typically appraiser doesn't want to be wrong, like anybody. So if you could provide proof that, you know, that there's comparable sales, you know, more power to you to be able to do it, because people want to be able to sell, and we all want a job essentially, because that's what real estate agents do. They create jobs for other people, and it's a lot of people. If you look at the way that the whole line of succession goes, yeah, that's a tough situation, and it sounds like it worked itself out, but they had to go through something to get to that point.
Right.
I mean, I got one more question before we wrap it up. Have you seen anybody purchase a home using crypto, like, you know, Bitcoin or anything?
I haven't here. I know it is being done, okay. But I haven't here. No, typically cash or financing, but it's growing.
It's the future, so you know. That's
absolutely.
So that was my last question. All right, D-Wise. So real quick, I just want to, you know, go over. So if you're looking to purchase a home, pretty much you should have your credit in good standing. Mm-hmm. Have a job or career that you're probably there for at least 2 years, right? Have some money saved, or, you know, or financing that is going to cover you, like a grant or a government funded program for closing costs and for down, right? Closing and down, and yep. Which some is 3.5, or it could be more. And having a plan of where you want to live at, you know, and then getting your pre-approval letter, yep. Which you get that from the bank of your choice. And then from there, you contact a real estate agent like yourself. And then you go ahead and you start looking in the housing market, and you start working on obtaining your home. So that's pretty much the process of purchasing a house, like the basic process. It could be more complicated or whatever, depending what you're trying to do. But just, you know, go for a single family home. All right, so before we wrap up this interview, I want you to make sure you shout yourself out where people can find you, your Instagram, your website, your number, whatever you want to put out there.
I'm not that hard to find. I'm Rochester, New York, covering Monroe County and all the surrounding counties around it. My cell phone number is 585-315-3327. You can search me on Remax.com. Orlando Rivera. I'll pop up. I'm also agent on Zillow. You can search me on Zillow, realtor.com. Easy to find. Follow me on IG at _Rivera Jr. And that's pretty much it.
It was a pleasure having you on 25-8 The Culture. I hope the culture really appreciates this. We bring you news, we bring you education, and we try and change the culture one view at a time. Peace.
All right. It's your boy D Wise. Hope you guys wrote down everything that he said. He dropped major gems, you know what I mean? And we couldn't stump him. It would have been cool to be like, gotcha. He didn't get rolled up on any of that. So he had answers for you. So hopefully you paid attention. And if you're looking to get a spot, take his gems and make progress into owning your own spot. All right. I'm your boy D Wise. I'm out. And also, anytime you need to use this platform, this bridge is not burnt. You know what I mean? Walk across it whenever you need it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and dropping the knowledge. I know I learned a bunch of stuff, and I know the fans will too. So have a good one.
I appreciate it.
Lance Draper. And like my Henny, I'm out.